Good evening and welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of Spiritual Talk. And good evening, Paul. How are you?
I'm good. Number 10 already.
I know. Where has that time gone?
I don't know.
Good evening to everyone. I mean, if you're on, please say hello.
Yeah,
Don't
get those
forget to
comments
share.
flowing in. Absolutely. Oh, here we go. We got Teresa and we got Lou. Hi, guys. And Paul, they're on watching.
Paul, that has Facebook users come up and I can't see who they are.
Yeah, they're going in through the group. Well, I'll check in on that in a minute to make sure. Oh, there's Vicky.
Hi, Vicky.
Anybody watching on Twitter or on YouTube? Hi, guys. Yeah, it's great you're joining us. Hi, Sean. She's in as well.
Sean.
We have a fantastic guest tonight, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We did say we'd give varied, unusual, different. And I think we manage it.
Absolutely. This gentleman is a class of his own for what he does. Okay, I'm just going to go straight in and introduce him and bring him on. You know, we've been after this gentleman for some time to bring him onto the Spiritual Talk. So I'm going to try and pronounce his name, and he's backstage. And if he hears me get it wrong, I could be in trouble. So I would try my best. His name is Kai Muegge. Muegge, have I got that right? Kai Muegge. Kai Muegge, is that right? Awesome. And he is a physical medium. He is based in Germany, Maine, near Frankfurt, and he does a lot of his circles and work from his base in Frankfurt. Please, everybody, please say hello to Kai. Hi, Kai.
Hi, guys.
Thank you
very much for having me. Good evening. Good evening.
A pleasure.
Did I pronounce your name right? I've been
very beautifully. You did that, Paul.
Awesome.
He'll beat you up after for saying it wrong.
Yeah,
that was quite right. Kai Muegge. Yeah, right. Kai Muegge.
So many people this week have been. We only advertised it on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. We did mention it at the end of the program on last Wednesday, and we've had so much excitement about you coming on. I've had messages from all over the world, people asking, wanting to ask you questions. So we're really excited that you're here tonight, giving up your time, free of course, free of charge, to inform and help people. So you're a physical medium, and you've done some absolutely amazing work with what you do, but I kind of want to know where it all began for you. We always like to know the guests that come on. How did it all start for you?
Yes, it started in my childhood and in my puberty, in my adolescent years, and my first séance then actually I was holding when I was 15 years of age. Now I'm 53.
Okay.
So quite some years of séances, and it was always the experimental séance room that was my area of work, and the form of mediumship which is coming up here in the séance room is quite varied, and physical phenomena, of course, are intermixed with different kinds of messages from the deceased and from higher spirits of wisdom out there. The spirit realms are so vast, as we all know, and by far not only the realm of the deceased is interested to make contact with us and to share information with us. So quite an eclectic space. And for 37 years, I am doing that now, actually.
37 years.
So does that mean you don't just bring through people's loved ones, you bring through other energy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I'm out, that means when I am in a full trance state, I'm actually unconscious, and the spirits use their dynamics themselves, and they come in following a control agenda of the doorkeepers and the main guides who are in charge. There are several of them. We are even talking about a spirit team who is actually responsible for different tasks in the seance room, and they bring the dynamics in as they come, due to the energies of the sitters and their expectations and so forth. So it's not me, actually. I am only inducing the trance state. I'm separating myself from my own bioform to let this guest spirit have its time and take over my voice box, and in the end the whole body.
So I mean, Ashley's just touched on it, and this is what I kind of meant. I know to bring it up early, but I'm like, this is where I was heading. So she's put, "Hi Kai, do you contact extraterrestrials?"
Oh yes, very much so. From the beginning of our work in the Felix Circle, and the Felix Circle is vital to what I'm doing today. We were developing 14 years in the Felix Circle between 2004 and 2000. No, wait. I'm always throwing these numbers around, but these were for around 14 years in the Felix Circle. And there from the beginning on, we had an extraterrestrial doorkeeper who is still working with us, and his name is Ta, and he's from Zeta Reticuli, and he's still around us, and he has or he had powerful presences in our seance room. He did actually materialize several times, and we have powerful photos about that and reports of people. He has an extraterrestrial look, but he also has on his karmic ways a human presence, and he can materialize as Zeta Reticuli, or he can materialize as the Tibetan blind monk he once was. Yes, and in both forms he has already shown himself in our seance room. Indeed, yes. So this is very important for us, the extraterrestrial. This guy who is called Ptah, he has a seat in different intergalactic brotherhoods and councils, and we always appreciate his very, very surprising looks or viewpoints onto our earthly belongings, so to speak. So yes, absolutely, this is a realm which is traditionally very important for us, because we are coming from a tradition which is quite different from the English tradition.
Yeah.
Our tradition is called experimental mediumship. This was once invented by the Germans and was very influential until 1930s, around when the Nazis were coming up, and we Germans were losing all our influence in the spiritual scene.
Okay.
And the experimental mediumship tradition was actually not presupposing any afterlife scenarios or whatnot. In this tradition, the scholars were basically looking what is coming, what are the mediums are bringing up, and after this we are trying to make a picture of it. So we are not presupposing an afterlife, or we are not presupposing that personality is surviving or something like this. If the results in the end tend to point into that direction, then okay, but no preconditions so far.
Wow.
Awesome.
That must have been quite scary to, like, the first time you ever do something like that, because I know it's quite a dangerous thing if it's not done properly.
Yeah, because our guest last week, we were talking about that. So, and the dangers on the physical body and how that what that is like for you, especially as a beginning to go down that route. Did you have a good teacher, or was it something you learned by yourself?
I had these very early entanglements with the spirit world from my 4th year of age.
Wow.
And then I went through powerful initiation like moments in my life. And this brought me to an intensive scholarship between my 12th and 15th age. That might sound a little bit silly, but actually I felt very mature already then.
Yeah.
And I started to order all these old books from the libraries around here in Germany. And I was actually studying 3 years the techniques of the proactive experimental forms to let the spirit world take form here in our 3-dimensionality. And when I was 15, I started to try that out. And I did then with school comrades, and a few years later with commilitones at the university where I was studying. And then from time to time there were groups forming for months, for a few years. And then actually the Felix Circle was coming up. And here we were truly experimenting very, very intensively for many, many years. For nearly 14 years, we were experimenting in our own séance room in Frankfurt, where we still hold séances. Yes, and here we actually explored the whole vastness of the spirit world. And what we found out, or what I did find out very early, was that talking to the spirits is an ancient thing for the human being, nearly from the beginning on. When the human being was communicating, the human being was expressing forms of communication with the unseen. So we have 10 to 20,000 years old hints and signs of indigenous folks that were doing spirit communication. But we even have anthropologists who believe that already in the Neanderthal, the very more primitive human being, the pre-form of the human being, had found forms of expression of the feeling that there is an unseen world, and that the unseen world is not only unseen, but that there is probably an entanglement between us and them. So this is so old, and this is, because it is so old, so very much in our DNA. Yes, and that's why we believe that spirit communication is coming very, very natural for the usual human being, let's say. I mean, when you are connecting yourself to the higher forms, the light in our human being, and you are connected with these good powers, then you are usually not endangered to encounter any danger. I mean, these things happen, that people have problems with spiritual attachments and feeling occupied by spiritual beings. This is actually happening, and this is a nearly a psychiatric condition. There's something which is called mediumistic psychosis, and this is then probably going into that direction, but that happens very, very rarely. So on the one side, it is an ancient a form of is an archetype of human communication, actually. But on the other hand, of course, you have to be educated in what you are doing, and you have to be informed in what you are doing. And these accidents usually only happen when the people are not educated, when they are not prepared, and things happen to them they cannot deal with.
Kai, you've just literally answered Carol's question. Literally, Carol sent in a question. Hi, Carol, about things coming in that you weren't expecting. So again, it's that education. When you talk about mediumistic psychosis, could you talk about that a little bit more in depth, please?
Yes, this is quite a huge topic, you know. Actually, we in the Western Hemisphere, we always have put a buffer between us and the spirit world, because in the meantime we had lost contact to the spirits, not like the indigenous people, for example. Let's look at the Northern American Indian folks. They never had a break in their contact to the spirits, and the spirits are coming very naturally to them. In the Western Hemisphere, in which life turned out to be so different and so specific, with the modern world, with the material world, and what this material world was demanding from us, the world of the spirit was not anymore appreciated, and not anymore received naturally. We were inventing these buffer forms, and the buffer is the trance, actually. So the Western medium is actually creating that spirit contact under the help of the trance state, and this is to actually separate both worlds and to keep both worlds more or less unaffected from each other. So this is a belief, because we have very deep psychological fears when it is coming about the supernatural, because we always believe we might not be able to control it. People look at the supernatural as something not natural, and they believe it might get out of hand or something like that. So, and when we look in this whole array, in this whole phalanx of experiences people in the Western world have made with spirits and spirit contact, we encounter from time to time people whose contact went out of hand. These were usually spiritual scholars in some forms, but for specific reasons, the contact with the spirit world, or spirit powers or spirit presences, were starting to overwhelm them in quite a negative way. And when you look into the histories of these people, you find very, very specific forms of family development and generations, things that might not been outspoken for generations. Even karmic interconnections might play a role here. So we have to say that the mediumistic psychosis is definitely something rare. but it is nasty. That's for sure. The disturbances can start in the outside world or in the inside world. Usually, when they start inside, they usually tend to move even in the physical. So that you have disturbances at home, or at least you believe you have disturbances at home. Many times the people become like oversensitive in regards that they suspect spirit powers in every common everyday life's environment or happening. So it's important that you start then to work with these people, and modern parapsychology has ways and forms to work with them in a way that tends to turn completely away from suspected specific entities the people might believe they are occupied with, or specific attachments they might have, or some people even believe, the term mediumistic psychosis is quite bright, it's quite wide. Nearly all disturbances that a spiritual scholar can come across and that turn out to be enduring can be described as a mediumistic psychosis. So it is something that you are encountering when you are dealing with the spirits. And
is it where fears crept in a little bit?
Oh, no, not necessarily, not at all, not at all. I have experienced truly quite experienced people who have traveled the world for years, and then there was one a retreat or one course they had done, a course they had done, a trance course or whatnot, after years of experience, and during such a weekend something can break in, and it turns out to be very nasty then. But two things I would like to state here. So in the treatment of these persons, you always you are very strictly looking, and you are focusing onto the patient, and what made it possible that this entry could happen, that this alleged entity could find a way into your environment, what is responsible for, what is in your energy that made that possible. So you are completely turning away from alleged spiritual presences of or entities of all forms. But on the other hand, we have to state as well that the spirit world, after all that we have learned, is the whole spirit world, the vast spirit worlds. Actually, these are many worlds. That these worlds are not free of negative entities. So negative entities exist out there. This is logical because simply we human beings are entangled into this world, and we human beings have done a lot of evil things and have misbehaved here on earth for a long time, so that this is a mirroring in a following spiritual concepts then back onto us is also something natural. And actually what happens at the moment, what happens to the world, this earthly karma we are going through at the moment, is for sure on behalf of the human misbehavings of the last, I don't know, decades, centuries, here are negative human potentials mirroring back onto us in a very, very powerful form. And now we can discuss about if this is happening by will, if are there entities who are actually exploiting or even controlling this or not. Is this a cosmological effect that negative potentials are mirroring back onto the originator? Mediumistical psychosis is something very nasty. It sometimes takes months and years to work with this. Very much often the people cannot get rid of it. You need to find a way to live with it, actually. But in a client-centered, well-balanced therapy, there can be huge steps. There can be made huge steps forward. I mean, we are working actually since my study times. I do work, or have not at the moment, because I have at the moment not the time, unfortunately. But for decades, actually, we offered counseling for people who were suffering these energies, these disturbances. And actually we dipped here into most strangest phenomena of consciousness, actually, and we learned a lot. And one of the things we learned is that when you cannot get rid of it, find ways to integrate it, to find new viewpoints, to look at it and to understand it. And in the end, there will be ways to live with it better.
Yeah. Guys, I'm just thinking on my feet here. As we've got a special guest in tonight, would you like, guys, to come in? If I share the link, if you'd like to come in and ask Kai a question. Oh, are you okay, Leanne?
Oh, sorry.
And I'm just going to put the link in the comments. There you go. So if you, I'm trying to post it actually. I don't think that went too well. Here we go. Try again. Paste. Is it in? Okay, so I'm going to post that. If you want to come in and ask Kai a question, please feel free. Keep it short as well, because there's a lot we want to talk about and get through tonight. So you touched on the spiritual realms, and from your unique perspective of working the way you do and the information that you receive, I mean, there's a lot of mediums that just touch on the astral, that connecting with the loved ones. They don't really go any further than that. In your in-depth knowledge, can you share with us your understanding of those spiritual realms?
Of course. Actually, these spiritual realms are whatever we can imagine, and even what we can not imagine is actually, there is a crossing point with our consciousness, and everything we can touch with our perception, everything we can touch by consciousness, actually has following spiritual concepts, a spiritual representant. Very easily spoken, imagine a tree and imagine a tree spirit. And when we look into the world around us, we can allege that everything we see here has spiritual representatives on different levels. We can get in contact with them. We can even get in contact with the sand corn, which is out there at the shore between 200 million other sand corns. But we can get with our consciousness in contact with such a sand corn and can actually channel it if you are in the right condition. So, and following different spiritual concepts the human being has arranged around itself, we can get in contact with angelic beings, or better said, angelic beings, or extraterrestrial entities, or the spirits of the winds, and the spirits of the waters, and the spirits of the sky, and the spirits of planets. So it is truly vast. Everything we can imagine might have a hint for us from its specific viewpoint, and is actually invited to be let in by our doorkeepers in our seance room to talk and to speak. And so we have entities that come in for healing. We have entities that come in to serve for other spirits, that they might come in more easily. We have spirits that come in and turn around sitters' energy into healing energy. We have spirits that come in to arrange a contact to higher knowledge, that we they have the ability to sort out among all the spiritual presences existing, to find these that might have higher meaning for us, and specifically important content that might help us personally, or might help us as a species actually to move forward. And I mean, the spirits always tell us that there is an ancient task that was coming naturally in their activities with us human beings from the point in time on when we human beings started to become corrupted to some sorts, that our sublime entanglements started to dry out, and we were focusing on fast forms of satisfaction, and that what was originally been given to us, we have neglected a lot, and that led to the situation in which our societies were actually pre-corona. Anonymity, and free-floating anxieties, and people who have found no more sense in their lives or in their jobs, actually. So actually, then of course poverty, the material problems that were happened to happen, and the spirits build a history, build a scenario again and again, in which they are describing another story in which we are actually part of an intergalactic cosmological array of beings existing in the dualistic dimensionality. And in the dualistic dimensionality, we have been given another specific good. And this good is coming with the fact that the human species was made being able to sense and to live what is described in the word love. The spirits describe it as the most vibrant form of conscious energy which is existing. It makes us move mountains, actually, when we are inspired by it. But not only this. So we are born in love, we are made in love, we are born in love, and the implications that come with this fact is that we can talk and understand what moral and ethics are.
Yeah.
And the spirits claim that amongst the huge array of entities existing in this intergalactic realm, but also in a multidimensional form of cosmological existence, that is not common. So we are given something very, very special, and this is to separate good from bad. And because we have defocused from that gift that was given to us, we have forgotten, actually. We always had an inner compass, what is good and what is evil, actually. And
Yeah.
specifically at that very moment in time, during that crisis that is going on at the moment,
Yeah.
many people are shocked to see other people who seem to be educated and well positioned in their societal position, but that they seemingly have suddenly lost the ability to discern what is good and what is evil, and this is actually taking place. So this is a result of this corruption, and the spirits want to re-entangle us. The spirits are actually looking to activate human beings who like to carry on their path of activation,
Yeah.
activation of the highest human goods which are available, to make yourself an example for others. Not necessarily a teacher, but an example that the others can take an example of you. And now I have totally forgotten what the question was.
Well, I was just going to go on from that. And some of the information that you receive is really invaluable. Do you have transcripts of some of the information that you have come through to you? Is there somebody within your circle listening to the advice and the knowledge that's coming in? Because it's so valuable.
Yes.
Maybe, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but if people could access some of that information, it would be fantastic. We've got some great questions coming in, guys. I promise. I've got 12, 13 questions that I've started. I will come back to you guys, I promise.
Dear Paul, you know, the spirits claim when they are revealing their information in the seance room, that this revelation is taking place on a parallel energetical plane, additionally as well. So these are not only spoken words. And the spirits always were wanting us to keep the recordings. Basically, every single session is recorded. They always wanted to keep that inner treasure chest of knowledge, this inner flame which is burning in our seance room, so to speak, when the spirits speak. That was always untouchable. We, from time to time, have given out information. You stumble upon that information when you go through our blog and through our Facebook presence and our website, of course.
I'm just putting the link up on there so the guys can see it. It's coming up here.
Mm-hmm. And GAIACHI.com, of course, GAIACHI.com.
Okay.
So, but we have now been given the allowance to give the most valuable information out. In which form that will be, we are suddenly at the moment in the process of finding the right texts and the right images, and we want, when we have the allowance from the spirit to give that all out, we want to do it rightly, and we want to do it beautifully, maybe in a form of a book or something like that. I mean, we have spectacular photographical material as well that can actually underline this enormity which is taking place here, with manifesting spirits that who actually have something to say additionally. So this is something beautiful.
It's almost like proof for people, isn't it? If you're saying, like, when they come through and you're manifesting them in their raw form, as in like galactic beings, I mean, you know, for so many years people have been told, is there something out there, is there not? You get told that a lot of negative stuff, like being invaded and things like this. So to actually allow somebody to an energy to come through in its true form and give this message, I just think it's amazing. You can't get much more evidential than that to see for yourself.
Absolutely. And what our sitters always can be sure of, that, you know, we have phases in our seances in which specifically loved ones are coming very close to the sitters, so close that they actually achieve, sometimes only for breaks of a second, but they achieve to touch or caress or even kiss or hug the loved one in the seance room. That happens, of course, when everybody is held at hands, so that there is no misunderstanding going on, and the medium, of course, is secured as well, and the medium's wife, of course, is strongly secured, that nobody could believe maybe it's the medium mimicking spirits here or something like that. No, this is happening on a very, very powerful plane of presence. And what did I want to say? Again, I've lost my train of thoughts.
So much.
It will come back.
Yeah, we will come back, because we've got so much we want to try and cover tonight and maximize your time with us. We've got a viewer, Carol, the lovely Carol. Just going to bring her in. She's got a question for you. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Kai.
Hi, Carol.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
And you. Have you ever had a spirit that didn't want to go back, and you've had trouble getting them back? And has it given you any long-lasting trouble?
No, actually not, because my deep trance is arranged for a specific character who is coming in and who is representing a gang of 5. And these 5 actually take over the control of every guest spirit that might come in, that might be spirits of the deceased, for example, friends of guests or relatives of guests. They do manage that in completion. Meanwhile, I am actually unconscious. Let me quickly tell you what I feel. I feel I fall asleep, and more or less a second later, I awake. But 2 or 3 hours actually have gone, and during that time the spirits have managed all that by themselves. And all what we know is, because we are entangled for so many years in this, we have very strong gatekeepers who really have control over this interdimensional form of communication, and they would detect if there is a problematic spirit that would not like to go back. But sooner or later, as after all what we know, sooner or later, they have to be thrown out of the body, because there is a natural connection between the body and the soul that is born into that body. And sooner or later, there is even a term which is called the Silver Chord. It describes the original connection between the spirit that is booked for this body. And even if there is a spirit that would like to attach and not to step into the background again, the processes around the Silver Chord would draw me back into my body and would actually cleanse it from every other spirit.
So do you
So it's a
shortening
natural
your-
process. It's a process that is coming with the trance and the entities I have arrayed over these many years. This is a team of security that balances all that out, and there is not even a sense that such a danger could come up. It does not.
So you shortening your lifespan by doing this kind of thing, or does it make no difference at all?
Thank you, Carol, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you,
Carol.
Kai.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, sorry. So
Shortening the lifespan.
does it affect your life force, the
Yeah.
kind of work that you're doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's like sleeping. I mean, during the time we sleep, we are also not conscious. So that's fine for me.
Do you when you come out of doing your physical medium, do you find you're very tired, or do you feel quite uplifted after?
In the first place, I very strong felt an insecurity, actually. What has happened for 2 hours with my body? I had no recollection, and the people were telling the most strangest and amazing things. And is that really happening? Are the people crazy? Under which circumstances is this really happening? So a lot of insecurities I actually had to deal with. And the answer was very strict control, that we actually know for every second what the medium is doing. I have my wife very close, so that in every incident of emergency, I know that my wife is there. She would look after me. So I have the security to make myself unconscious in front of 20 sitters. I might not even know. We do semi-public sittings with members of societies I do not necessarily know. So I had to learn to trust, and I had to learn to rely on Julia, my wife.
Hi, Julia, by the way. Hi, Julia.
Yeah.
And can I say a question within a question there? So is it a semi-public? Do you have so many sitters that you're used to working with, and then you have like half a circle that you invite people in? How does that work, Kai?
Yeah, that always worked on speech. So people heard about it, and were coming next time, and then we were invited by somebody who was guest, and it turns out he has a center or she has a center, and then she is inviting us, and we are meeting her range of people, you know. So that's the way it always worked, and we are very happy about that. Even what we are advertising in Facebook is happening in our groups. So these are no public advertisements. This is actually semi-public, and we only actually meet good people, truly good people. It's very rare that we find people with false agendas or something like that.
Yeah, because that's the thing. People trying to disprove or criticize.
Absolutely. That happens from time to time. But we are doing pre-talks with people nobody knows well, and we very intensively and even sensitively feel into the person and decide then can he or she come or not. I mean, we expect a specific bit of education and knowledge. This is important to behave rightly as a sitter in such an experimental environment you are participating in. So you are not a visitor like in a cinema or in a piece of theater or something like that. So you are part in an experimental space in which experimental spirit manifestation is taking place, and your energies are needed, and your free will is needed to accept into this and to bring your energies actively in. So the pre-talk has to happen when a person is not at all known.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that sitting at home, Kai, that don't actually understand what you do within that circle. Can you now go to the point what you do? I'm going to actually, should we bring in the YouTube video? Can we do that?
Oh, wait a second, please, because you know, the full form materializations, you know, this is actually the highest class of manifestation phenomena, of materialization
Absolutely.
phenomena. So for the people who might not have an idea what we are doing, the history of the supernatural is the history of its manifestations around us human beings, and mediums were always trying to get in contact with the supernatural, and spirits were the messengers of the supernatural. Spirits are the decoders. They are decoding what is not understandable for us, coming from these unseen areas of existence. And when we look at this thousands of years, more than 10 or even 20,000 years of history of getting in contact with one another between human being and unseen forces and entities coming from supernatural realms. These entities have always revealed themselves on all planes of perception. That means they might have come in a vision, they might have come in a mental potential, but they have materialized, manifested as well. I mean, parapsychology actually was founded because of hand-fast physical phenomena that were happening in the seance rooms of that new movement, spiritualism. Parapsychology was an effect, the founding of parapsychology was an effect coming from physical phenomena, physical interactions from the spirits with us human beings in the seance room, spectacular things. Things materialized, light phenomena were happening, spirits were showing themselves, spirit hands started to appear in the seance room. People were touched, people smelled things, animals materialized, people materialized. So it was an area of massive high strangeness, and more reliable people were telling more and more unbelievable things from the seance rooms of around the world. And then parapsychology was founded actually to explore what is going on here. And
So
yes, and what we are doing in our seance rooms, we are specifically looking, or we are trying to create an environment in which these spirit entities can manifest in a way or form in which they become detectable for our senses.
Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone, sorry, Paul.
Sorry, God, no, I think I know what you're going to ask, actually.
For anyone obviously here that doesn't understand or where you're coming from, how do they manifest within your space?
They are manifesting with the help of the energies which we human beings are carrying in our body. We are actually creating an electromagnetic spool, and inside of that electromagnetic spool, the spirit, the spirit controls. Spirit control is the name for those spirits who work proactively on the other side to make the seance happening, to actually create the space in which spirits and human beings can actually stand in front of each other.
So as you were saying
On
that you
electromagnetism is
so you were saying you
allegedly
all hold hands all around you. So is everybody's energy brought into this to help it become stronger?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
And the electromagnetic energy is then activated. That means the people take action. They start to sing usually, and they connect their electromagnetic potential then even with the idea of making contact with spirits. So the energy becomes a meaningful touch. And here we start actually to enter this entanglement between meaning and energy. And here it is, the seance room.
For those at home, though, Kai, that are sitting there thinking, well, what is this? What does it look like? So if I've just stepped through a door into your seance room, can you paint the picture of that for those that might not understand? What does it look like, your room?
Yeah, it's a room in which people can sit in a horseshoe form, around 20 of them. We need to make the manifestations going on, and we have a cabinet, and in this cabinet is used like a battery in which ethereal energy is alleged to be enriching itself during the session. The sitters and medium sit. So the medium is actually closing the horseshoe on its open side and is held at all four limbs. As I said, it is important for us mediums to know where we are and when we are. So we have always two people holding the medium actively during all forms of activity, because we work with light, we work with red light, but we also work with darkness, and specifically for the darkness phases of the evening, we have to have independent controllers who can report to the rest of the sitters. What is the medium doing when everybody in the room claims to be touched, or when waves of touches are going over the people? And what is the medium doing exactly in that moment in time? So you have that horseshoe, you have a cabinet, you have this number of sitters, you have in the midst of it an area, and this is in the curve of the horseshoe, where we have a little table with tambourine, and the spirits use these instruments to test the density of their achieved presence. Are they able to, can they actually touch the tambourine or even carry it, or let it float through the room? And then the spirits can actually calculate with what they have achieved in regards to ethereal density. The ethereal energies become denser and denser over the minutes, and accordingly the experiences the sitters have are going denser and denser. Yes, and then the spirits, as I said, they are showing us the material world ad absurdum. They are leading the world ad absurdum, and that even refers to the body of the medium. So they show things going on with the body of the medium which are usually not capable of happening. Usually that does not happen to a body, but the spirits show their control over the body, and they show the control over the physical space. In light, they show you things that materialize out of nothing. In light, not only in light, they position people specifically in the way that they have an exclusive view onto the area where it happens, so that the people are specifically in a best possible position to observe, for example, materialization of an object in light. And they do that because of the implications that coming with it. They actually show us that what our modern societies have focused upon, that also spiritual concepts are behind this. Okay. So these things seem to be material, but they are not. When there is a higher ordered spirit taking control over that form of material, it dissolves, it vanishes.
Okay.
And
so I'm a bit confused here, so sorry everyone if I sound a bit stupid. But obviously you were saying it manifests as energy. Obviously I've heard, and I think somebody else about their ectoplasm. I always thought that was a fluid from the body. So is it not, or is that something separate?
No, this is not necessary. It is coming from the body, but it's coming from the environment as well. So what you refer to as ectoplasm is something like a side effect when these both realities do melt into one another. Then from time to time, something like a new form of materia is seemingly to pop up. And this is sometimes coming from the medium. When the spirits make a presentation out of it, then they can show it to be coming from the medium, from the how is it called?
So like from the nose, or
how is the skin in the mouth called?
The palate.
Yeah, you know this specific.
Saliva.
We have that form of skin also in the nose, at the sexual organs. You know that skin, that what is the English word for it?
Crocky. We're both. I'm not sure.
Is it like your glands or something?
No, I know what you mean. It's a mucous membrane. There you go.
Yeah,
mucous membrane. Carol's just put that.
Wait, please 1 second. It is called mucous membrane, mucosa. Okay.
Mucosa. Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Thanks, Liz.
So,
guys.
so ectoplasm can be generated from the human body's mucosa, but it can be generated from the atmosphere as well. We have seen it suddenly pop up out of nothing. And this new form of materia, which is following this new spatial dimensionality, is seemingly has the materiality of our material world, but it has something additionally. It is an enormous, fine spiritual receiver. Imagine this. We have guests we have never met in the seance room, and imagine a lump of ectoplasm is popping up, coming from the medium, maybe not, but it is visible for everybody. The spirit who controls my body takes this lump of ectoplasm and puts it onto my chest, and then starts to like massage it. And then people are asked one after another to come forward. And they come forward, and every time one sitter is standing in front of the medium, which is under control by the main spirit control, the massaging stops, and he seems to draw it, stretch it, and suddenly out the material changes in its pigmentation. Usually it's quite white or gray, but suddenly it starts to turn to become black and red and all forms of, and long story short, the people see their relatives in this material. Maybe not every sitter, but a number of different relatives and friends were being shown: a baby, an old man, an uncle, a daughter, a grandma, a guide. So a lot of entities. So where are these faces coming from?
Yeah.
Where has this lump of material taken these faces from? We did not know about them. So we believe that this material, seemingly material, but at the same time powerful informational interconnections, are leading directly into this mass.
Yeah.
In the end, the whole materialize the fuller forms of materializations, they are all made from this material, actually. And as I said, the highest forms are actually spirits who manifest themselves in completion. Complete spirit entities appear in the seance room. A little monk is suddenly sitting in midst of the seance room and is shining a blue light on himself, sitting in front of the feet of sitters, and a strange blue light is repeatedly shining him up, and everybody can see him. It must have been amazing, these instances. I have not seen by myself in my own seances. I saw it in other medium seances, yes.
I mean, there's a question there in itself, Kai. Is there any other known physical mediums that you could recommend? Say if I was living in America, is there anybody in America that you could recommend that'd be interesting for people to follow, or to kind of get involved with? Is there anyone out there you can recommend? I mean, if you can't think of anything now, please put a comment later on, because you still be able to access the questions on here.
So all the mediums I can mention, they are all coming from other traditions than mine. So the things that I have now talked with you about, you might not necessarily experience it there. But we have, for example, the very well trained Warren Kaler. He is originally English and is living today in the US. And he has a lot of powerful, he's a very trained medium, and he has a lot of powerful features to be shared. So Michael Shane, he is a medium coming from the tradition of the Ascended Masters.
Okay.
And his phenomena are basically the apportation of gemstones, but very interesting to observe and to take place when it is taking place. Then we have the amazing Hoyt Robinet, but he's not anymore working, I believe. Hoyt Robinet was one of the last precipitation art mediums. A specialty in physical mediumship only existing in the US. Canvases, originally it was canvases.
Okay.
People sat in front of these canvases over 2 hours or so and could observe how step by step pictures of their loved ones were coming up from them. It started in one of the spiritualistic camps in the 1880s. And there were quite some protagonists who were sharing that with interested parties. And Hoyt Robinet, he is from Camp Silver Bell in, I've forgotten, in Pennsylvania, I believe.
Okay.
And he is the last survivor of this precipitation art. Imagine everybody comes in and you write your name on a small white sheet of paper.
Yeah.
And then all the cards are put into a basket, and the basket is full of colored pencils and whatnot. And you even hear the basket rattle from time to time. And after 20 minutes, because your name is on the card, everybody can be given back your original card. And the process has created images onto the card on the one side, and on the other side, names. It's quite amazing. But Hoyt Robinet, I'm not sure. It could be that his sessions are very rare in the meantime. Yeah, okay. But one thing is for sure, as varied as my seances, of course, nobody of them is. This is for sure.
So would you train somebody to do this? Do you
Oh,
train
yes, of
people?
course. And that was a joke, of course, what I just said. All these mediums have their own very powerful and worthy moments. So yes, we are training this, and this is part of our mission, not to bring people into our seances, but to give an easy access into the world of physical phenomena and working with spirits on a physical plane, because this is such a fascinating thing to do. You do not need much. You need 3 or 4 friends who might be as committed as you are, and create a room with a table you might be sitting around and a cabinet, and then you already can start over. And the spirits might answer today much more earlier than, I don't know, 30 years ago. People claimed then they needed to wait years and years for. That's not true. The spirits react quickly today.
Yeah, you see people's spiritual journeys just awakening in front of your eyes now, don't you?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you mind if we share your YouTube video, and could you talk us through
Yeah, okay. I was not sure which one it was. Yeah, okay. Let's have a look. Which
Okay,
is,
so
which is
just tell me when to stop if you want to stop it. If you'd like to talk people through what I'm showing, hopefully it's going to play.
Oh yeah, this is Henry Olcott. So he materialized because we had an American guest, and she is doing today what actually Henry Olcott was doing then, exploring spiritualism. And at the beginning or at the end of the video, you actually see a comparison between the historical image of him and his materialized presence. Meanwhile, the spirits materialize in that way. You even hear or see the medium sitting behind or besides the spirit entity. We have images. You can see both medium and spirit. Sometimes you see only the spirit. Sometimes. So this is very varied. What might be interesting might be this comparison, Paul, between
Yeah, shall I have a look? See, is it
at the
let me find
beginning?
it.
It should be at the beginning, I
At the
believe.
beginning?
Yeah, I think.
Let's see what happens if I can just bring that on slightly. So
Yeah.
Ah.
So this is him, but we will have direct comparison in a second. I think. Yeah. So this is very, very, very interesting.
Oh wow.
So here you see, look at the colorization of the beard.
Yeah.
Look at the form of the nose. Unfortunately, the seance room images were a little bit pixelated.
But you can still see the glasses though, can't you? Just about see the glass.
Wait, let's roll, because there is other comparisons coming up.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So we believed we have found a good resemblance here. Look, for example, can you get back to the image we just went over?
This one?
Look, for example, for the imprintations on the cheek, under the eye.
Yeah.
You can even see this imprintation on the skin. You can see exactly the right nose. You can see the same colorization of the beard. So, and these entities appear for seconds. They show up for seconds in front of the cabinet or in midst of the room, and then disappear into infinity.
So am I right in saying they can appear, did you say in the middle of the room?
Yeah.
Wow, in the middle of the circle, and people.
Indeed,
Yeah.
yes.
How was that received from those in the circle? They must be amazed.
Yeah, it's taking their breath away, of course.
Yeah. And obviously,
do you have the video with other phenomena
no, I just pulled up this one.
Okay.
A StreamYard's a bit limited. I didn't want to overload it and then we lose ourselves in the technical.
Oh, I see.
But I just wanted to show an example of what it is that can be achieved.
Please be aware that these are the highest forms of materialization. We are doing this only with groups. We are calling advanced sitters circles. We are calling this because people have to amass energy for quite some time. Meanwhile, our usual seances are full of phenomena, very varied and very eclectic and interesting, and something happens here and there and everywhere. But here in these seances, every energy is for the building up of the entity, and the entities very rarely speak. Usually It is the main spirit control that speaks out of my body, and my body is usually behind, so you see the entity and you hear me speaking behind the entity, describing it, giving information, who the entity is, and so forth. So at the moment, these spirit phenomena are not happening.
So I've just found these cut on. We posted this on the Spiritual Talk page.
Oh yes,
you can see, guys, some of the images. I don't know if you can still see this. Is it still working? I think it's just jumped onto YouTube. Sorry, guys. I will reshare that. Bear with me. I'll come back to that so people can see the other images. That'll be fantastic. Of some of the things that you have that turn up in circle.
But maybe, Paul, the phenomena. I'm always quite divided, because the phenomena in the seance room are always coming with meaning and with message. And every time we present them in that way, people might not actually catch what huge messages may be coming with this. These were images from purely scientific experimental sessions. Scientists who were wanting to see ectoplasm and film ectoplasm. So this is actually not coming from a usual seance room environment, but the people can, if they are interested, they can look on our YouTube channel, which is TV Beyond, with Kai Muegge or by Kai Muegge, or on our website, or even better, coming into our seances, or learn how to do it by themselves. You're welcome.
So you've actually been under investigation, haven't you? Some of your seances and what you've done. I believe you spent 2 years under investigation.
Yes, indeed. And at the very moment, we have decided for the last years only to invest into actual scholars, because we experienced that at a specific point, science and spirituality, they do not match, and that created problematic environments I would have liked to avoid. But because we know him so long with the scientific council of the Basel Psi Association in Switzerland, we are at the moment going through ingenious scientific test sittings. I'm not allowed to say too much, but already by now we have captured things that have never been before captured. It's absolutely amazing. And these things take time, but we have already by now captured things which are absolutely overwhelming and breathtaking, and I hope we will be able to present them soon in a perfect, secure, scientific, sensoric control. It's amazing.
That's really, really, really exciting.
Yes.
The validation that will bring is just phenomenal.
I know, phenomenal. But I always need to say, originally, that physical phenomena are happening. It's not at all as strange as people might implicate. It is not, and I in this regards, I also sense biased or that people want to talk. They don't like to have. I mean, what in England, the English tradition has truly achieved a lot in educating people and so forth. And I can understand that a lot of dynamics were coming from the institutionalized English traditional spiritualism that was actually negating physical mediumship very, very actively and describing it to be very strange and not anymore existent and very questionable. But originally, the supernatural is not at all questionable. The supernatural is natural with us from the beginning on, and nothing else we are showing in the seance room.
Yeah.
I think that's just so that they breed fear into people, isn't it? If things aren't explained or it can be hushed up, then, you know, there's a fear sense of it, which then will make people not want to go down it because they've heard bad things about it when, like most things, there isn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. There's so many questions.
Can I pull up this one here from Paul?
Yeah. Hi, Kai. You mentioned earlier about a doorkeeper. Could you explain a bit more or briefly on doorkeepers and how did you first communicate with yours?
Yeah. When you are making yourself open to have or to let spirits take over your bodily presence, then you encounter over the years a lot of entities with different tasks, and in this array of spirit presences, there were always some who claimed to have special function, so that they were entangled in the mechanics of the process itself, so that they were not a communicating dead brother, not at all a spirit of that nature, but that they've been a spirit of a nature like a mechanic for the process. And here are moral implications as well immediately kicking in. So these doorkeepers, because they have an understanding of themselves, always spiritual means informational, and their connection to us human beings, this is actually originating in this sublime source. So when spirit entities claim to be behind the mechanic of the process itself, they usually are bringing moral and ethical implications into it. That means they are sorting out which entity might be coming in and which not. And the more that might play a role in your mediumship, the more these entities come into presence.
Okay. Awesome. I'm just going to quickly flick through if there's a couple. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, a question here we have. Somebody asked earlier, do you do apports as well? I'm not sure if that was Effie. Do you do apports as well in the seance room?
Yes, you can go onto our YouTube page. There you can see the spirits doing apportation with my body. Very, very interesting to look at. It's recommended. TV Beyond, Kai Muegge on YouTube. Please have a look. You can see apportation of different sorts. Very interesting apportation processes where the eyes are involving. So objects that suddenly pop from the eyes. but also Pop from the Empty Hands, which is all
it's wonderful.
Presented on our YouTube, but also on our blog. So
okay,
there you find, if you might be interested in this, recorded.
Yeah, there is quite a lot of stuff out there, guys, on YouTube. Have a look. Well worth a watch. And it's an education as well. Can I ask one more question? Sorry, Anne. I know you've got a question because I can feel it. one question from me. The last question from me. You've been deserving that cigarette. You've been holding on to that for at least an hour.
Oh, that's only tea. I'm smoking tea. That's not a cigarette.
Ah, okay, fair enough. And
I believe my wife is looking the show.
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah. So
she believes me.
Not now.
not anymore. Okay.
So Carol's asked a question, and it's interesting because earlier you encouraged some of our listeners or our viewers to try sit themselves. On a physical level, is there any kind of damage that someone could do? Because I know last week we talked about, was it Helen Duncan that went into trance, could get back into her body properly because she was disturbed by the police and was arrested and subsequently died in a police cell. Is there, things that we need to be aware of? Because I don't want to, again, I want to dismiss fear. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, absolutely. There are several things we have to be aware of, and they all can be learned in the books that have been written by the main experimenters over the years. They have, for example, how you have to deal with ectoplasm. We had accidents in the seance room with ectoplasm as well, because people have misbehaved because of language barriers. They have not truly understood how to behave, and they behaved wrongly. And then actually those who are providing the ectoplasm might experience powerful drop downs of energy. And but usually nothing more. I mean, what happened to Helen Duncan was an extreme case, and we cannot really say, did she really die by an ectoplasmic accident, so to speak? But it's not wrong to underline here the carefulness and the international standards which are to follow when you are going into these experiments. It's a little bit like experimenting with ayahuasca or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just having respect for the
absolutely, and knowledge. You have to read about it, otherwise you might look quite irritated out of your
body. Absolutely.
Did you say when you go into it as well, you've got to go in with a good mindset?
Absolutely, the mindset and the group setting is very, very important. That's why we are doing introduction rounds at the beginning, and we are trying to create powerful, positive atmospheres that the group can truly go as one into the seance room and can as one experience. This is another demand the spirit world has for us, being able to hold up groups. When the groups come together spontaneously, like in our seances, then you have to create spontaneously such a homogeneity. But when you have your own experimental group, and in the Felix group, we were for a time more than 11 people. We all know how quickly subgroups or something like that do develop in a group dynamic. And what the spirits ask from us is to overcome this, to be socially intelligent and use problem strategies, not to not allow the group to break up easily, not to allow single persons to turn away forever because there was a misunderstanding, or I don't know. You know how quickly today people turn away from each other.
Yeah.
And the spirits ask us to exactly train the opposite. Otherwise, they won't come.
Yeah.
It's almost like leave your ego at the door, because when we come in
Yeah.
here, it's in love and it's in unity, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about an individual.
This is
Yeah.
it, Jillian.
Yeah. Kai, we can't thank you enough. We've really gone over with like an hour and 35 minutes. We can't thank you enough. I wish we could. We'd be here all night, but you've worked so hard tonight, and
you.
Your command of the English language is fantastic as well. I know you were slightly worried about, but you've answered all our questions perfectly, and I hope everybody.
Thank you.
And I hope everybody at home has really enjoyed it. It's been really special interviewing you.
It's been really lovely. Thank you.
Great. Cool.
So
Thank
much.
you very much. Thank you.
On a last quick one, where do you see humanity going? Forwards.
Again?
Where do you see humanity going forwards with the guides that you have come through and the beautiful energies that flow through you?
I mean, I already mentioned the word earth karma, and earth is at the moment in the process, in a cleansing process. All the things that happened pre-corona, which I mentioned earlier, with all the problems in the families and in the societies and how we communicate and everything, and we brought forward and in command in political key positions and so forth, and much more, a lot of young souls who have not went through bigger karmic circles in which they experienced all sorts of social and political environments, and so they are quite immature. And unfortunately, a lot of these immature spirits and souls are at the moment at key positions in society and politics. And this is also responsible, therefore, that we have go through a valley which lies in front of us, and we will have collateral damages to specific degrees, but this is nothing we need to worry about, because in the end we are in a cleansing, in a cleaning process. The global society is going through at the moment, in the end, hand in hand with the planet itself. So in the end, we will awake in a better world in which we human beings have found new forms of societal existence, and with more luck, and the people are more happy, and yes. So this dark valley, not dark, this valley lies in front of us, and we have to go through, and we have to turn towards our next. The spirits want that we reinstall communication as quick as we can, because our spirits always say, you would travel the galaxies to find redemption and fulfilling, but the human being has the ability actually to find that in one another. So turn to your next, turn to your partner, and in this duality, in this two-some existence, there lies a huge potential. And tell it to your friends and activate your friendships. It's time now to, after such a long time in which we could not genuinely communicate, because everybody had the masks on. How are they reacting? How is my opposite reacting to what I'm saying? So communication, which is so vital to our existence, was so massively suppressed, and this we have to overcome now quickly. And yes, and then a new era is starting to develop.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you ever so much,
Pleasure.
Kai. And we are back on this time next week.
Yeah.
And yeah, we better let our guests go. So we're going to say thanks, everybody. For those of you that shared, we will pick someone for a free reading. Don't worry. But thank
Or
you.
healing.
Or healing. Yeah,
Or healing.
your choice. Absolutely. So we'll see you this time next week, guys. Have a lovely weekend and see you next week.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.